Hey guys, like always, I'm going to try to tell you a little bit about what I'm going to do before I do it. We're going to come over here to a bank and we're going to find some depth between like 1.5 to 5 foot of water. I'm going to target that 1.5 to 2 foot zone because I know the fish are moving up in that shallower water, and the water is really low in this lake. The biggest key here is pay attention to your graph and don't be afraid to do this technique in shallow water, even dark colored water. I know a lot of guys are going to say you have to do it in clear water. Man, I've done this in stained muddy water and caught a ton of fish float flying. So it's not the watercolor, it's just finding the right depth where the fish are and getting the bait to suspend in front of them, and you're going to start catching more fish. Okay, we're going to do a little wind drifting. This bank seems a little bit deeper than the other banks, so we're going to do some little wind drifting right here up close by this bank. 5 foot. Oh, thought that was a hit right there. Gonna come up to the wind drift. Throw this thing out there and just work it right along the brake line. There it goes. That was quick. Look at that. Oh, nice big old fat crappie. Same type of thing, finding the wind. I'm going to put the power poles down right there. I'm going to hold this for a second. Oh, and then he got off. Okay, that's okay. Okay, we'll start wind drifting again. I'll get out just a hair. I get in that 1 to 3 foot zone. Throw it out there, let the bobber sit straight up. Pop, pop, pop. It's a little harder to watch in the wind, and you got to make sure you keep up with your line. You want to keep reeling. If you're wind drifting into your bait, you want to keep reeling. That way you're ready if you see or feel the hit. Go down, pop, pop, pop. Just watch that bobber. And I'll be ready on the power poles if we do get something to hit it. I'll get those power poles down as quickly as possible. Just wind drifting. Same thing I would do on throwing a swim bait. I'd throw a tube, a crankbait, a rip bait. There's a hit right there. Look at that. Okay. I'm going to put the power poles down. Stop me on my spot. Oh, nice. Nice big old fat crappie. Look at that. Pretty thing. Pretty thing. Look at how far he ate that little fat fly down there. Okay. Throw him back. Clean off the bait. Like I said, what I'm doing is I'm just doing a short pitch. Same type of areas that I would fish a crankbait, a rip bait, a buzz bait, a swim bait, a wind-blown bank, finding a little bit of a break line. It drops from like 1 to 3 foot right there in that line. So that's where those fish would start to stack up on. And all I'm doing is I'm doing a pop, 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 and then letting it sit there. Pop, 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 letting it sit there. And like I said, in this wind, it's a little bit harder, but that bait's actually moving with all those waves. It's still working down there. And I'm just waiting for that bobber to boink like that, or go underwater, or lift upward. And if I see any type of action on there other than the stuff I'm throwing, that's where you sit there and you set the hook. Like, oh, there he is, right there. The thing started swimming with it right there. See how that bobber was starting to go down? It stopped and it goes down and it started swimming the other way. Nice. Pull that little guy in. Look at that. Look at that. Fat fly. Crappie. Okay. What I want to do is when that bobber goes in the water and it suspends, that bobber will sit like this in the water column if that bait is suspended. If a fish hits it, the bobber will turn sideways, it'll pop it, it'll go down. So that's the stuff you want to think about. Now there's one other retrieve that you want to look at. It's called the slow wind. You throw your bait out there, you find your line you want to go on. Okay? Rod tip pointed at the lure, your bobber, and you want to bring it in super slow like this. You don't want to stop it, you just want to continually to reel, nice and steady. Within reeling, you can pop it a couple times, but you don't ever want to stop it. This constant swimming action in the water column triggers a lot of fish, especially when they're a little bit more aggressive. You got to remember, for every wind that you bring in with your reel, you're bringing in about 33 inches. There's a hit. See how it hit it just on a nice steady retrieve? I felt the tick and my bobber barely flicked, and I got a hit on a slow retrieve. That's the number one retrieve. That's the one you got to remember on that one. Okay. So we bring this guy in. Oh, another nice fat, pretty crappie. Look at that thing. Look at that. Look at that. Little chunky guys. Okay, dress up your fly. So that was number one. Your second type of retrieve with the floating fly is you throw it out, you let it go to the bottom, and you let it suspend. You'll see the chartreuse is sitting there. You want to pop, 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 and then let it sit. That brings that bait up in the water column and then brings it back down. It does this little pendulum, okay? Very, very, fish on it. That little pendulum light right there keys a lot of those fish into hitting it. There's another nice little fish. Oh, nice little fat slab. Nice. Another fat slab. Okay. Hey guys, the biggest thing on using a floating fly, it's depth control. It doesn't matter if you're fishing off the shore or out in the boat or against a bluff wall, in a kayak, in a float tube. It's all about depth control. The biggest thing is to get the point across to you guys. I could fish in my boat all the time. There's a lot of people out there that can't afford a boat. They can't even afford a float tube, but you got 2 feet and you got a pair of shoes. So I'm going to jump out of the boat. I'm going to walk down this bank. I'm going to fish the fat fly with the float and fly system. I'm going to try to show you the 2 techniques again. The straight wind with a pop, and then the pop, 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 and the pause, which is the pendulum, which goes through the water. Let's jump out of the boat. Let's see what happens, and see if we can show you a little bit more about what the float and fly can do. Okay, I got the power poles down. I'm going to jump out of the boat. So we got the boat sitting there, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for my depth range. So I'm going to walk down this bank, and the neat thing about this, guys, is, you know, I fish all the time so close to the bank anyways with my boat. I'm going to kind of pitch it out there with the wind to my back. I'm going to let that bobber kind of wind drift back uphill into the cover and structure, and I'm watching that. So I'm letting the waves do a lot of the movement of the bait, and then I'm going to give it a couple extra pops. Now once I see that orange belly of that bobber more, I know my bait has hit the bottom of the ground. I know I'm dragging it. So I'm going to reel in. I'm going to do another little pitch out here in that little deeper water. I'm still trying to target that 2-foot zone. That'll give me about 6 inches above the bottom. I'm going to pop, pop, pop. And anybody could do this. Anybody could walk down the bank. We just watch the bobber. I grew up doing this at Castaic, Piru, Pyramid. Did it in the Sierras for a lot of years. This is just a very, very simple, fun technique. Man, I caught so many trout on this. Yeah, I can't tell you the number of trout I've caught on this system. So the sun's going to blow us out a little bit, but we're going to try to get down here around this point a little bit so you can see better. Hey guys, this is the first technique, a technique within a technique. It's the suspended animation. It's a fat fly under a bobber, but I'm going to straight reel it. I'm just going to throw it out, let the bait go underneath the bobber and suspend, and then I'm going to reel it in super slow. Maybe pop it once or twice, but I'm not going to stop the retrieve. On this, what you're looking for is the bobber to kind of go underneath the water. You're looking for it to actually feel the hit, or you see the bobber pop, and just keep reeling into the fish. So very simple technique. I've used this all over the place. Let's try it right here and see what happens. Okay, simple lob cast out. Let it hit the water. Let that bait suspend underneath the bobber. Watch the bobber, and we're going to do a straight retrieve. We're going to go super slow with the reel handle, and we're not going to stop moving it. We're just going to bring that nice and steady through the water column. What we're waiting for is feeling the hit, the bobber to start to go underneath the water. I mean, we're just looking for two types of indications: the feel or the sight for the hit. We're going to bring it nice and steady. If we don't, oh, right there, right when we got up to the little ridge, I had a fish pull it down. Let's try that again. We throw it out. We're going to let the bobber suspend the bait, and then we're going to bring a straight wind, nice and steady back to me. You can do this while you're in a boat, or you can do it offshore. There we go. Nice steady wind back to me. And all that was on that one, if I could zoom in a little bit, I'll show you guys. As I'm reeling it, the bobber started going underneath the water. So either two things happened: a fish ate it, or I got stuck on a piece of grass or a stick or wood, and it was going to get snagged on me, but it ended up being a fish. Nice. Oh, that thing is just hot. Pull that thing up to the bank. Look at that. Nice little pretty crappie. Okay. So that was on the straight wind. Okay. So we'll throw that one back in. Now we're going to show you a basic. Going to throw it out. You're going to let this thing suspend under the bobber. You're going to pop, 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 and then let it sit there. Pop, 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 let it sit there. Okay. So we're going to throw this out. We're going to watch the bobber, so we're letting it sit there. We're doing a pop and pause. We're just going to let it sit there. And we're watching the bobber. This is more of a visual clue. You're waiting for the visual strike indicator. You're waiting for that bobber to pump, go underneath, to flip upward. This is my favorite way to bring in a fat fly, is the pop and pause. Usually I do a 3 pop, pop, pops and pause. And then if I don't get anything, you know, you wind in and you make another cast. and I'm like looking at the bank. I'm trying to see the grade on how fast it's being tapered into the water. You know, that has a lot to dictate on how far I'm going to throw out. If I see a steeper bank in front of me, you'd be surprised on how close I'll fish. Okay, see this? Look at this drop off right here. There's a neat, right here, there's a pretty good little steep drop off right against the bank. So I'm going to bring my bobber in, and I'm going to see the depth. Now we're right almost at the break line. It's a little bit shallow. So here's the distance of this. Okay, I have probably almost 1.5 foot, 2 foot lead right here on this bobber. Okay, so if I test the bobber and if I put it in the water like this, my jig hits the bottom, the bobber is going to float on its side. It's not fully suspending. Okay, I'm going to pitch it out just a little bit further. Bobber's going to go backwards. It's still the jig is on the bottom, not suspended under that bait. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find a little bit deeper edge. I'm going to throw it out here, and it's not deep enough. Okay, I'll come over here. Still just not deep enough. Come over here. Boom. It's suspended right there. Okay. There's a little bit deeper drop off right here off the tip of this point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pop and pause. I'm going to go pop, 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 and I'm going to let it sit there. Now, if I was any type of fish, I'd come right up here as close as I could to this bank, because this is a feeding area. Pop, 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 and pause. There's a hit. There's a hit right there. Okay. Pop, 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 pause. Okay, let's go right here. Okay, it's suspended out there. I'm going to pop, 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 pause. We'll see how close to the bank we can get a fish to commit. There's a hit right there. Oh, there's a hit right there. Okay. Okay, it's suspended. Bait's, oh, there, right there. Look at that. Did I call that or what? Look at that nice big old fat slob. Look at how far out from the bank we're fishing. Okay. Look at that. We caught that no more than a rod length out from us. Hey guys, it just shows you, you know, in a boat it works fine offshore, but understanding fishing uphill, look for that little contour change. Shadows, my gosh, man, you guys should be really scratching your head on that one. And just keep an open mind. But remember, the float and fly system, it's all about a fixed system. It's a visual and a physical strike indicator. You're going to feel them, and also you're going to see it. So you have the best of both worlds. So we'll catch you next time here out on the water.